Did you know that starting and ending your day with gratitude and just recognizing the good things throughout your day can change your life? It changed our life, the life that I lived with Lance, and it has helped me as I move forward since I lost him. I don't even know where I would be without it. I'm not sure that I would have survived.
I think what a foundational and fundamental piece of our lives that I think you've done such an amazing job of demonstrating the effect of gratitude and how it can improve even um, the most bleak situation that we might be in. So I'm excited to talk to you about this today. Gratitude is, as far as I can tell, the underpinning of thankfulness. Gratitude is something you carry with you at all times, despite your circumstances. And I think thankfulness is something that's very tied to a specific circumstance or an act or event. I genuinely don't know how people get through life through tough situations because if we're honest, everyone goes through tough situations. I don't know how you get through that without feeling a sense of gratitude for the simple fact that you're here with a purpose. If you're breathing, if you're upright, you have a purpose. Every single day when you wake up, you have a purpose. And the gratitude for that, the gift of being able to live out your purpose, I think that carries through in everything you do and everything you say.
I would agree that being thankful and having gratitude are two different things. And I had a hard time with gratitude. I think gratitude is something that is very personal, and it's not something that you can tell other people that they need to be grateful, that they need to have gratitude in things. It's something that you learn as you walk certain paths in your life. And I found myself very offended by people when they would tell me that I needed to have gratitude whenever I would voice my frustration or whatever it was for whatever was going on in our life. And so gratitude, I think, can be used as a means to silence somebody from sharing their thoughts. So that's I would like to encourage people not to do that. It is a very personal thing.
I agree 100% with that. It is personal. It's a choice that you make. It's a way you live your life. It's a perspective that you have on being and living. It's not, and you can't conflate gratitude with thankfulness. They are not the same thing. So I'm glad we're talking about this.
When you're in the middle of a really tough time, the last thing you need for someone to tell you is you need to have gratitude, because it can be really hard to find that during those really difficult times.
And it's not helpful. It's not helpful to oversimplify someone's struggle or hardship by offering advice that you can't give to someone. It's something that has to be cultivated on your own. I think if you're a very close friend, there are times when you can perhaps introduce the conversation, but telling someone that that's the key that will unlock the door to peace or happiness or joy or any of those other things isn't helpful when they're in the midst of something very, very challenging. In fact, it's harmful, I would say, more often than not. Seeing what I saw in your life through some of the hardest times of your life, I was able to see that in practice for someone who did have an extremely challenging life. So I thought that you were a good example of someone who had cultivated gratitude in their own life despite their challenges or their circumstances. So in thinking about that, I wanted to chat with you about things that you did that might have helped that. So in hindsight, if you were to look back at your life can you see that gratitude affected you or the people around you, or how it helped improve your outlook, your circumstances? Like, looking back, where can you see that choosing to cultivate gratitude um, made you better able to tolerate those ups and downs and get through life?
Early on in Lance's disease, I noticed a change in him when we focused on the positive. So I started asking him at the end of every day, what was your favorite thing today? Or what was your favorite part about today? And that was when we began our intentional gratitude practice. And that was, I want to say, within the first maybe 3 or 4 years of our marriage. So that lasted all the way through. And then as his disease progressed and he started having problems with his memory, he wouldn't remember at the end of the day the things that happened. So I would catch him as something good happened and I would point it out to him. And that was something that I noticed, even if he didn't remember it at the end of the day, everything had a cumulative effect with him. So if we had a day full of positive things, at the end of the day, he was happy. If we had a day full of negative things, at the end of the day, he was not happy. And so I tried to make it as positive as possible and continue that gratitude for all the things that were happening throughout the day, even if it was something negative. Um, okay, yes, today it was not great that we had to go to the hospital. But hey, how awesome that we got to see your favorite nurse while we were there. Wasn't that great? Things like that. And that put him in a better mood. And so I became even more intentional about that when his memory got worse, because I knew that that set the tone for all of our days. And then a couple of years before he passed away, I always had pictures up on our walls, big pictures up on our walls of places that we had been, because we both love to travel. We both love photography. So I always had our own photos up on the walls. And a couple of years before he passed away, I filled this huge wall in our living room. We had a tall vaulted ceiling, and I put pictures all over it. And I put little labels that said where it was and when it was. And he would just sit there and he would look at those pictures every day. And I remember one time when he was on hospice, I had the bedroom door open and he could see that wall from where he laid in bed. And I walked back into the room one day and he looked at me and he said, I love seeing that wall and all those pictures. I don't remember going all those places, but I know you took me there, and that makes me so happy.
I think my favorite thing about that part of your guys' life, because I have such fond memories of seeing those pictures on your wall. My favorite part about that was that there was intention behind it. It wasn't an accident that all those pictures were up there. You had made the effort to have those printed out, to have them hung, to label them for him. And I think that's the point of all of this is gratitude is intentional and it's a practice. It's not something that just comes naturally. And I think if you're sitting around waiting to feel grateful for something in your life, you're probably going to keep waiting. You have to you have to go out and seek that out. You have to practice it. It doesn't just happen. It doesn't just land in your lap. And you know, I when I was raising my kids when they were all very little, I made great effort to point out things that would produce a sense of gratitude in them. And then a sense of humility, because when you foster a sense of gratitude in your day to day, I think it produces a humility that allows you to offer grace to the people around you, because you know that you could otherwise have a very difficult existence or a more challenging existence. When you know that you have good things in your life, you're aware of the fact that you could not have those good things in your life, and that produces a sense of humility and, like I said, then grace for others, because that's what gratitude does for us. Let me tell you right now, we have a lot of smoke in our skies. Okay. Our skies are super hazy where I live right now. So much smoke from wildfires and things like that. And I'm missing sunsets. I'm missing them. I haven't seen a sunset or a blue sky in weeks. And I noticed the other day, I looked outside and saw just a tiny patch of blue. And I thought, oh, I'm so grateful for the blue sky because I've missed it. Normally, I wouldn't be grateful for a blue sky, but when it's gone, all of a sudden you miss it. And so I think it's just noticing what we have in our lives that we take for granted every single day, pointing that out to ourselves sometimes to the people around us, but sometimes just to ourselves. Um, and then we realize, oh, I missed the blue sky. And look, there it is. And I can be grateful for that today. And I was kind of shocked by that, right? Like, what the heck? How am I thankful for blue skies? But here I am, so excited and staring out the window. Um, but that's, you know, it can be surprising. Like, what was most surprising to you about making that conscious choice of gratitude, about being purposeful in that way?
There are actually a few things that I can think of that if I hadn't started that intentional gratitude practice, I don't know if that I would have felt these things. So as Lance's disease progressed, he received his first diagnosis 15 months after we got married. And then he received his second diagnosis 11 years later. And with that second diagnosis, we knew the seriousness of that disease because it was in the same family of diseases. And we knew that it was really going to slow him down quickly and that it was going to change our life drastically. And I was thankful for the first diagnosis then because that taught me a lot about taking care of myself, knowing my limitations, and I already had some things set up in place. And had he not received that diagnosis, I don't know that I would have had, I don't even want to say as easy of a time because it still wasn't easy, but I don't know that I would have been able to manage as well as I did. So I had a decade of learning how to care for myself before Lance really needed me. So that's one thing that I found gratitude in, which I found very strange when I first thought it. And then as he got worse and he became more and more dependent on me, Lance and I were not able to have children. And we found that out within the first 3 years of getting married. And it was a big heartache for us. We both really wanted children. But as his disease progressed and he became more dependent on me, I was grateful that we didn't have children because I knew that I never would have been able to take care of him to the level that I did if I had the responsibility of children on top of taking care of him. So that was another one that surprised me. And then more recently, just this year, I found myself wanting to journal my gratitude for the second diagnosis. And at first, I just thought, this is ridiculous. I cannot journal my gratitude for such an awful disease. It took away our life slowly. It took my husband from me. How could I possibly be grateful for that? And so I fought the urge for about 3 or 4 days. And then I finally sat down and I journaled my gratitude for it. And I was really surprised at just the fact that I had gratitude for it, but the reason that I was grateful. We wouldn't have lived the life that we did had he not been diagnosed with Erdheim-Chester disease. And we wouldn't have met the people that we did, and we wouldn't have been the people that we were. He wouldn't have been who he was. I wouldn't have been who I was. I wouldn't be who I am now if it hadn't been for Erdheim-Chester disease. And so just finding gratitude in those things that were all so traumatic for me, that surprised me the most. But it was such a cool thing to realize that that's what true gratitude is. It is recognizing and being grateful for some of the most awful things, or it can be.
I can't agree with that more. I know in my own life, I have so many things that I've looked at and thought, well, that was a mess or a train wreck or an awful situation. But when I see the lessons that came out of it, the things I learned or the person I became because of that, or in spite of it, um, I'm just always amazed, and I'm grateful for the lessons, the opportunities, the struggles, the hardships. I think when I start to think through those things, when I'm viewing things through that lens, all of a sudden I see so many more things that are blessings, truly blessings in my life that I would not otherwise view that way. And that lens of gratitude is, oh my gosh, it's so eye opening. But like I said, it is a practice. It doesn't just happen. Like, you have to be purposeful about viewing the world that way. And I think it opens up so many other doors that you otherwise you wouldn't see things that way if you didn't purposefully and intentionally look through that lens.
Right. And it is something that if you don't know, if you're not practicing gratitude, the easiest way that I could say what worked for us was, like I said, at the end of every day, I would ask Lance, what was your favorite thing today? And that was our gratitude practice. And now I get up every morning. We did this when he was alive too, but I get up every morning now and I walk out into my living room and I just stand here and I think, I am so grateful to be where I am right now. I'm so grateful to be alive. And I start my day like that. And at the end of the day, I do the same thing that I did with Lance. What was my favorite thing today? So if you're not practicing gratitude, that is an easy way to start and it can change your life. Thanks for joining me, Jenna, and I will see you next time.
All right, we'll see you. Thank you.